Hello everyone, welcome so much for joining us today on this Wednesday afternoon where we've got 3 filmmakers from the New York Lifter Film Festival waiting in the wings, ready to answer any questions that you may have and to answer our questions that we've already posed to them earlier this week. I'm Natalie, this is Rupert. He will probably be fast asleep during the whole stream as he's been barking away all morning today. So he's puffed himself out, so he'll be sleeping throughout this stream. And you are?
And hi, I'm Claire.
It is us 2 again.
It is.
Always.
Us 3.
Us 3. Yes, sorry, Rupert, sorry.
We're super excited to be here with our final week of Filmmaker interviews. We said it earlier, but what a month it's been. And I cannot believe that it's drawing to an end. Obviously, the festival ends at 10 p.m. on Friday.
But then, don't fear, there are plenty of films that are going to make it through to the network round. So
Yes,
there are 2 more
are.
weeks left of the New York Festival,
Yes.
depending on the films that make it through to the network round. And that is an audience choice. So if you haven't already and you've rented the collection, get voting because the votes will be counted over the weekend and Friday is your last chance to get those votes in.
Absolutely. So really, if you haven't decided which are your 2 favourite films, you have got really 48 hours, I guess, just over, to get those votes in.
So go, 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 go. Cool. Should we get our filmmakers on?
I think we should. So here we go. Let's say hello to our 3 filmmakers this week.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Cool.
Great. Well, let's just start with introducing you all to everybody. So, John, can you kick us off and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. My name is John Walbolt. I'm the producer, writer, and director of Nanek, which was my first short film, and it's a comedy about life as a non-union theater actor in New York City.
Nice.
Hi, everybody. Hi. I am Vicky Tanner. The name of my web series pilot is One Cuckoo. I'm the creator, producer, and co-writer.
Whoa.
This is number 1. We're hoping to shoot 3 more to create the arc of the story, which is the story of an African-American woman artist doing her thing in New York City and her trio of bickering inner voices that force her to self-examine and to find better understanding of herself and real connection with others.
Amazing.
Wow. That sounds really interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
And hello, everybody everywhere. I'm Joan Pauls, and I'm the writer and director of our film, The Disease, which is part of the Lift Off Festival. And basically, the film puts the focus on all the problems that the dreamers face when they get to Hollywood and try to work on film. And not just the dreamers, but all the problems that the young generations have nowadays.
Very cool. And where are you calling in from today, Joanne?
I'm calling from Barcelona today.
Nice.
Very cool. And Vicky, you're in New York, is that right?
Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn. Oh, we love Brooklyn.
Oh, we so wish we were there.
Yeah.
I like it too, even now, with everything that's going on.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's never a dull moment, really, in Brooklyn.
There
And
isn't.
good food. We've had so much good food in Brooklyn, haven't we?
Well, the venue that we usually hire is in Brooklyn. It's in Greenpoint. Stewart Bar and Cinema. It's a little quaint independent cinema. Stewart Bar and Cinema.
Dude,
It's great.
Greenpoint is so cool.
Yeah, I
All
know.
of it. Greenpoint, Williamsburg, yeah.
We were
It's
actually in
the-
Williamsburg the year before that as well. We've seen some cool parts of New York, haven't we?
Yes, it's very happening. It's very happening. You guys are in the cool part. Very nice. Well done.
Yeah. And John, you're also in New York, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in Manhattan, so just across the water from Vicky.
Ah,
Nice.
very, very cool. Hopefully you two can collaborate or work together on some future projects, maybe.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm all for
Yeah.
meeting these people. I mean, John, I liked you right away. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. I like it too.
Awesome.
And maybe
Yeah, I feel
Joanne,
like
you can Skype in every now and again.
Yeah.
I know. It would be so nice to. How I long for just going to visit friends and going out for coffee, or just
I know.
wandering into a shop to just look around. They really miss those simple things.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, what we're going to do now is we're going to move over to radio style audio only. So you guys feel free to turn off the webcam feature if you want. And we'll switch over, ready for the next set of questions.
So this is just a reminder to everyone who is in the chat room. If you do have any questions for our filmmakers, do let us know. We will pose them as and when they come through. So without further ado, we start our first questions that we sent through to you, which is all about problems that you have faced and how you've overcome them, either on the production that you currently worked on or as a filmmaker. So, John, why don't we start with you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the problems that you've overcome during the shoot of this film or as a filmmaker?
Yeah, sure. So the biggest thing that stood out to me from my experience filming Non-Ec was kind of more to do with personal development and the growth I had to do taking on my first short film. And I'm sure many filmmakers go through this. But basically, we did 3 full days of shooting. The first 2 were back to back. And after those, I was more tired than I'd ever been in my life. And looking ahead to the next week, we had about a week off. And this last day of shooting, we had basically more to shoot than the first 2 days combined. And just due to inexperience, I felt the whole time I was narrowly escaping problems left and right. And so going into that last day, I was just so stressed thinking something's going to go wrong.
Oh, no.
And what ended up happening was I just tried to steady the course and look for inspiration from some people who I really admire. And so I was looking through interviews and eventually I stumbled on there's a great documentary about the making of Star Wars called Empire of Dreams.
Yes.
And I watched that, and basically, not that I would equate my film to Star Wars, but but it was really cool because that film is so iconic, and the production process had so many things come up, and George Lucas just it didn't matter. He just kept pushing forward, and so I was like, okay, well, it doesn't matter. As long as I think I'm doing the right stuff, just keep going. And so I spent the next couple of days just sort of almost like an athlete, just visualizing that last day of shooting and really planning it out meticulously. And then sure enough, that day came and it was probably the smoothest day of production we had. And then everything worked out. And so it was great. And now I'm not worried about that anymore. Next time I shoot something, it's I know what my real limitations are and what I might be afraid they are. So it was a really cool experience of growth for me.
Yeah.
So as well as a character development experience, would you say there was anything specifically that you could pin down in terms of that organizing? Were you working closely with an AD? Do you think it was the scheduling? Do you think it was too ambitious a shot list? What sort of things do you think you took forwards into that final day?
Great question.
Well, there was some issues with first of all, we've all probably had the limitations of your budget, which influences your schedule. So there were a lot of things that were just kind of out of my hand and I had to make the most of what I had. And so going into that last day, what I did was I just kept, I did this every day, the 4 days lining up to the last day of shooting. And I made a schedule that was every 15 minutes. And I would go through mentally okay, I have to get these camera angles and these shots. And this is what's important for this character that we're shooting. And I really I knew every single thing that was supposed to happen that day. Mm-hmm. And I just thought about it over and over. And so it was just kind of from over planning that is what got me through it. There was nothing that I just put off and said, oh, we'll figure it out in the moment. Sure. It was all planned. And then the other thing about it, though, the thing that really saved my butt was the fact that my cast and crew was just they were willing to go wherever I led them. Even if there was some question about something, I would address it and they would just blindly follow me. And that's what really got us through it, was just we had such a good team and people were willing to take my direction.
Yes, so important.
Yes, it's, as Claire just said, it is so important to have a team around you that you can trust, put your full kind of vision into, and they'll accept any ideas that you come up with and go with the flow.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
There you go.
Oh,
Teamwork
that's so...
makes the dream work.
Oh yeah, that's the most important thing by far.
So John, how long was the shoot in total?
So technically we did 4 days of shooting, but the bulk of it was 3 8-hour days.
Okay.
Yeah, and that last day, and the dialogue is very fast dialogue. It's a very fast-paced film, but that last day we had to do 20 pages, which is stupid. It was just stupid.
Wow.
I mean, that's just kind of what we had to do, but in the future, I'll never put myself through that again.
Yeah. So
even though I know I can do it, it was asking for trouble. We tempted fate a little bit with that.
Okay. So Vicky, same
Yes,
question goes to you. What problems have you faced on your productions or as a filmmaker?
Well, probably, not surprisingly, a lot of the same challenges that John faced. This was my first endeavor into filmmaking. So it was really just following a dream, and something said to me, this story needs to be told and you're going to have to be the one who tells it, because how else does anything get done? And so this is my life anyway, just diving into the deep end. This is how I've always done everything. Just a scrappy girl from Compton, getting it all done. So I would say that my greatest challenge was myself, really my own insecurities, very similar to John. And what I did was, always telling myself, what about this? And what about that? And what if this doesn't get done? And what if something doesn't arrive on time? And, all of that noise that happens in, your head when you're jumping into something. And so one of the first things that I did was to surround myself with people who knew what they were doing, right? My director is fantastic, same work ethic as me. We will stay up 24/7 to get it all done. And so I aligned myself with her. She worked with me on the writing as well and became a co-writer.
Great.
So I could completely trust her.
Yeah.
I surrounded myself with a lot of women because I wanted to do that. Right. And not that I have anything against men. I love men. There were men on set who were really helpful and fabulous. But I just felt like, I wanted to have that experience. So
Nice.
you're really ambitious. I flew my production designer in from London, which is insane on this budget that we had. But I wanted to be true to this vision. And what I wound up doing was giving myself over to... This is going to sound really kind of ethereal, right? But the thing that really is in control, right? There's a reason that this is happening. I'm just going to let that thing take over. I'm going to do all of the homework. I'm going to do all of the planning, all of the pre-production. And then I'm just going to be there every day as producer and go right into
Steering that ship.
Yes, steering the ship, troubleshooting, problem solving, taking care of people, just making sure it all goes as a producer. And then what I found out is that I'm really good at busy work. I love all that stuff. I love problems because I'm by nature a problem solver. So, it kind of worked out. I found out something about myself that, well, it really validated something I already knew, but it validated it in a big way because you have all of these people, all these actors, you're it. They're depending on you, right, for everything to go well. And they want to look good and they want to feel taken care of. They want to feel like somebody is at the helm. And then what I discovered is that I could really be that person.
Amazing. Yeah, it's great to recognize the qualities in yourself that suit specific roles. I think especially with first-time filmmakers, you might think that a role is what you've always wanted to do. Obviously, director often comes to mind. But then you can find yourself fitting perfectly into a different role. And I love that. We've spoken to all sorts of different HODs and stuff, haven't we? Yeah. People who have found that they love ADing or they love working in the art department. And as you say, it's just all about using that experience to find what works for you. And what you
because it's all service oriented, right? It's all about what can you give you know, and then hopefully you're creating a piece that you want to share with the world because it has something in it for them. And so when you really look at it, it's all service. And so if you know, kind of drop yourself into that way of thinking, what can I give? How can I help? How can I serve? Then it all makes sense. And it's not hard. It's really, really lovely, a lovely, beautiful experience, all of it, even the things that are considered quote unquote hard. It's great.
Stressful. It's all part of the journey. So
yeah,
if you have that,
exactly.
If you have that mentality, then you're going to go a long way, put it that way.
Yeah, I'm going to throw another cliche out there because of what you've just said. And as they say, if you're doing something you love, you'll never work a day. You'll never work a day in your
God,
life.
it's so true. It's so true. See, I told you this was going to get ethereal. You know, that's what it's all. That's what it's all about. I think that's what all the arts are about, really.
Totally.
You know? Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing with us.
Oh, you're so welcome.
And Joanne, same question goes to you. What problems did you face during the making of The Disease or any other films that you've made? What's the main issue that you've had to overcome and grown from that experience?
Yes, so probably as Vicky said, the main problem was that we were following the dream, because I said before that we were doing a film on how good Hollywood looks from the distance and how difficult it is once you try to break in the industry. So we had to literally film in Hollywood sign, in a Hollywood sign location.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to make the whole film like a big irony, being just in face of the sign, which is the most recognizable part of Hollywood. And the permits to film there are very expensive. I mean, really expensive. So we had to do it without the permits or any safe way. And so we had to pick a spot where not a lot of tourists and people were hanging around. And it was and a spot that at the same time was close enough to the sign. And we were there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours to shoot all the shots just facing the Hollywood sign. And what we had to do, and it's the first time I do it, and it brought me a lot of problems, was that we had to film in another location, faking that it was the same location. So all the shots that are not on the face of the Hollywood sign, so that you don't see the Hollywood sign, are trying to make it as it's in the same place, but it's in a different place. And we had to match all the shots to make the lie. And that was a big problem. Also because while shooting on the Hollywood sign, we could hear some police cars and sirens, so that put pressure on us. But we were a small team, and we knew very well the space because we were like 3 or 4 times before shooting, so we could do it. And then another big problem we had was about the unions, because here in LA and in the States, it's all about the union. So your project is either union or non-union. Of course, our project was non-union, and we had 2 actors that were in the SAG union, in the actors union. So 2 days before the shoot, both of them, we lost both of them because they were afraid of doing a non-union project.
Sure.
And they didn't say it before, so we had to find 2 new actors in 2 days.
Oh, God.
You'd be amazed how many times we hear stories like this, though.
and it's if you see the film, you'll see at least for one of the characters, it's like a big monologue. So it's like a lot of dialogue, because it's a dialogue character-based film. So for Jonathan, the actor was a big work for just like 2 days to learn all the lines, and he did great.
Wow.
How did you find the actors so quickly? What did you do to cast them?
Because thankfully the actor that dropped like last minute, he tried to find some of his friends to do it. So we were referenced to his friends. So that was easier than just trying to find by our own. But those 2 days I was about to just cancel the film because we lost the main part, the actor. So it was hectic, like 4 or 5 hours, but it was solved. Everything was solved at the end. I think like everybody, when we're doing a film, we have this moment of like, okay, we cancel it all. It's impossible. But then you always find the way.
We're going home.
Yeah. The stress. Oh my God. I think I probably would have just cried if I heard that news. So I'm sure you dealt with it in a very, very good way. But,
it's cool though, because between the three of you, we've sort of covered experiencing bureaucratic problems as well as the more internal emotional hurdles to overcome. That's a nice spread there of sort of areas that I think we all encounter along the way. Yeah.
So we've got Gwendoline. We've got Gwendoline in the chat, who's also based in Brooklyn. She says hello to you all.
Hi.
Hello.
We also have a question here asking, what is your favorite film? So why don't we just go one by one? So if we start with you, John, what is your favorite film? If you can pick one out of the whole library of films in the world, what is your favorite film?
So I can't pick one. So the most like inspirational or influential film in my life was when I was a teenager and saw Moulin Rouge. That was different. That was different from anything else I'd seen and really changed things.
I love Baz Luhrmann and frequently put Romeo and Juliet up in definitely in my top 10.
Yeah, it was just I'd never seen that style before. Yeah. It was just totally, it was so cool. So cool.
Nice.
Oh, God, I can't pick one. Oh, I'll tell you though, as soon as you said that, what popped into my head was Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet, because, you know, I was just this kind of like poor kid in Compton, and it was my first encounter with Shakespeare, and it was on television, and I was just so thrilled to bits that I could totally understand it. And they used, you know, the text, the language almost exactly, and it was just done so beautifully, you know, and so specifically and so clearly that I got every bit of it. So that made me happy. But you're gonna think I'm so nerdy and weird when I say this. Anne of a Thousand Days is one of my absolute favorite films. And it's the story, it's the story of Anne Boleyn, you know, and Henry VIII. And it's just told so gorgeously. And I just fell in love with Anne Boleyn. Genevieve Bujold, the actress, played her. And God, she just blew my mind. What can I say? You know, the sets, the costumes. I love everything about it. I just thought it was a perfect film. But I have many.
Sure.
I'm so weird. This girl, I know, it's so weird, isn't it? That those are my favorite, but there it is.
No, that would take me back to primary school history lessons, being fascinated by Henry VIII and all his food gouten wives.
Yes, exactly.
Totally, right? Yeah, and she was the one who, I mean, she got beheaded, but boy, oh boy, you know what I mean? Her legacy endures in Queen Elizabeth. So I just thought she was the first kind of like badass woman, you know what I mean, from back in the days.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you had the same question.
Yeah, for me, those were good films, guys. For me, it's always impossible to choose just one, but it's true that always some of them pop up in your head. And I will pick two. First, choosing on the independent film, I will have to say Nightcrawler, directed by Dan Gilroy, and it's I don't know if it's not a very, very popular film, but it's Jake Gyllenhaal leading, and it's amazing. The story and the cinematography and everything on the film is great, and it's a bit dark, and a lot of people like when a film is kind of dark tone, they are not very attracted to it, but I recommend it to everyone. Nightcrawler. And then
Nightcrawler, sorry, I didn't hear you say that. Yeah, Nightcrawler is amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing. And then speaking on blockbuster films, maybe I go back on the time, but I would say It's a Wonderful Life by Frank Capra.
Wow, great.
Absolute classic.
I just love it. Like the message of this film, it's just the perfect message. It's just life on a film.
Yeah. It's wonderful.
Wow.
Amazing.
So yeah, that would be it.
There's so many films, right? You could just go on and on. I've thought of like 5 more since I've been sitting here.
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking, what would I choose? What would I choose? And for some reason, this isn't my favorite film, but it's the one that keeps pressing in my head right now. And that's a film called A Fish Called Wonder.
Oh my God,
I
it's so
don't know
great.
if you've seen it, but it's
so
by John
great.
Cleese. It's a comedy, and it just every time it just pops into my head. So
I've heard you say this more on a few occasions. So there you go.
We watched it when we were on the university.
Ah.
Did you
It's
like it?
hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. Okay. What about you?
You know, I always say Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
That always is in my top 3. And I think Fight Club as well. There's is always one of those films that just sort of stopped me in my tracks and made me think, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so curious about Fight Club. I've always thought,
Vicky,
maybe I don't want to see it because it just sounds so brutal.
Oh, it's
Oh no,
so
no, no, no!
good,
You have to
though.
watch it. You
Okay.
give it a chance.
It's the same thing I was saying about Nightcrawler before that. It's a dark, so people is like, ooh, I don't want to watch it, but you have to.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Okay, then.
Great.
So moving on to the second question that we sent you earlier this week, John, if we start with you,
Yeah.
where is your filmmaking career going to be in the next 5 years? If you can say what that would be amazing. It could be anything. What is the path that lies ahead for you?
Sure. I just wanted to quickly say, in the previous question you asked if there was anyone specific I did a lot of organizing with, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my director of photography, Mike Smith, and my AD,
Cool.
Abby Kane. They did credit where credit's due. They did a lot of extra help, and they saved my butt a lot of times. But on to this question. The real goal in 5 years is, it's a little ambiguous, but I think it'll make sense. I want to be making money from films and not just pouring my money into them.
Of course.
I am happy to continue to create things and not worry about that. So, for example, I'm working on a screenplay for a feature right now, and I'm working on potentially a web series. But 5 years from now, I want to be on the big screen and have a feature on Netflix or a TV show on HBO.
Nice.
And so there's a few projects I'm thinking of, but it's really a matter of, I want it to pay my bills, so I don't have to worry about any sort of survival job or anything like that. So a big feature on one of those major platforms.
Nice.
And VOD is where it's all at the moment, with different platforms such as Netflix, Amazon Prime. There'll be more springing up as this model gets even more popular than it is. So there's lots of opportunities, and we just need to see them break into more of that independent scene.
Yeah,
I really
so
want to
great.
see more true independent content as one of the categories that you can select on Netflix or on Amazon Prime. I know on Amazon you can upload your own films and distribute them yourselves, but it's not the same as a company like Netflix having it there in your suggested pile.
Totally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's definitely doable, John. So keep going.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna happen.
Guarantee it.
Yes, it is happening.
That's right.
Exactly. And Vicky, what does your next 5 years look like?
It's the same. It's really great to hear and see how Amazon Prime and Netflix and Hulu and streaming services like this are looking for timely content, edgy content that is about now, diverse content, because I certainly have it for them. I think in about 4 years, what I'd like to be doing is working on season 4 of this web series.
Nice.
Since the first season follows Alex, the artist that I mentioned earlier, and her inner life and her growth and her ability, strengthening to self-examine. So the second, third, fourth season start to follow the other characters in the series as well. So I have like story upon story, and it all builds on itself. And so in 4 years, I hope to be working on season 4. I have a solo play that I'd love to turn into a film or web series. And, I have another idea that I'm kicking around about the magic and beauty of teaching artists. And I don't even know if anybody knows what that is, but that's what I like about it, because there's an opportunity to introduce this line of work that magical artists do, especially here in New York, going out to public schools to introduce young people to a variety of arts and teach them how to do a variety of arts.
It's so
and so
important
that's
as well.
another idea that I'd like to What was that? I'm sorry.
I just said it's so important that is happening.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
the arts are surviving and that the younger generations are learning and they can adapt it and mold it into whatever they would like it to be.
Yes, and that's exactly what, people like me and other artists in New York do, and especially in New York City, where the arts are becoming less and less and less available to kids in public schools. So that's another project that I hope to be working on. So basically, like John, I plan to be doing this and I plan to be doing it better.
Amazing.
Cool. I love the response about like the 4th season though, because as we've said before with so many different filmmaker chats, and we've seen it when we meet the distributors and sales agents, specifically the likes of Netflix, the recommissioning model is the one that's working. Getting people hooked in stories, in characters, so that can just keep burning and turning.
Yes,
so it's great
yeah.
that that's already your long-term kind of outlook for it. Very
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Joanne, what's your 5-year plan?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, first I want to say, like John did, I want to mention my partner Dara Safbania, because this disease, our film has been directed for both me and him. So I'm here representing both of us.
Sure.
And regarding the question, I have a little bit of what John and Vicky said, but now after making at least, I would say 12 short films.
Wow.
That I did, I want to make the step that everyone wants to make. So I want to make my first feature film. I think it's about time. I have 3 different scripts written and done. So they are ready for the market and ready to be shot. And I'm trying to do so in different industries. I'm trying to move the scripts between Los Angeles, London, and Barcelona, which are the places where I lived and worked in the last 6 years. And that's why I have three different ones, because depending on the opportunity or the people you talk or the production companies you know, some different films can work at different opportunities. So you have to have several to just hit the spot when they ask. So I'm trying to do that.
Yeah, that's a very good point you've just mentioned there. Having multiple projects on the go at the same time. When we sit down and speak to sales agents and they are interested in a filmmaker or a particular director, maybe that one project that we're representing isn't exactly what it is that they're looking for, but they're interested in the director and they're interested in the work that you have previously created. So if then you can say, well, actually, maybe this project aligns with your ethos or your company more, then that's something. Then you've got extra ammo that you can feed into your meetings when you do sit down with these people.
Yeah, that's right. And I've been in this situation many times now, and you see everybody that direct the first film, usually they have already 4 or 5 on the backpack.
Yeah.
So is how it works. And I want to say one of the advices that one of my professors told me once. I don't know if it's a very good advice, but she told me, like, if you don't cry while making a feature film, is that you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
So I just want to cry.
Yeah, no.
That would mean I would be doing the film.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because it's a sense of accomplishment, relief, and everything rolled into one that makes those eyes stream with tears. But we often speak with quite a well-known first AD called Terry Bamber, and he's worked on a lot of the James Bond sets. He's quite prolific within the industry. And he was giving a talk to our filmmakers before we went into lockdown and before Corona took place, and he was just like, every time we wrapped on set, I would just burst into tears, because all of the emotions and all of the hard work that you've put into this piece is now done, and it's moving on to the post-production, and so his part of the job is done, and it's just such a relief in his
It's the same with theatre work. We were talking about this just the other day, post-show blues.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a very real thing.
Yeah.
But the only other thing I was going to say, Juan, was what a great opportunity at your disposal that you've got those 3 cities to create a pool of networking connections.
Yes,
That's a great
and I love
opportunity to be able to harness.
I love the experience of just changing city every 2-3 years. The bad thing about that is that you always start from the scratch wherever you go. So that's a bit frustrating because you already created a network in London, for example, and then you move to LA and you kind of lost.
Yeah.
But you can keep those relationships going.
Yeah.
Although it's sometimes hard work, but you can try and like keep them going as much as possible, so that, as you said, when you have a project that then aligns itself well with a particular demographic, you know who you can kind of call upon. Amazing.
Yeah, you always have them on mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very cool.
Super inspiring too.
Yeah.
What Juan's doing. It's amazing.
Yeah. How's our chat room looking, Nat?
So the chat room there's quite a few questions. There's a lot of people saying hello and how are you, and they're like commenting on what you're saying it's very ambitious, the very inspiring topic, and people are saying that Netflix should have a platform or should have a category that is dedicated to true
independent films. Let's make it happen by everyone going out and watching these true independent films. Show that there's the demand for it. Yeah, so, exactly. Yes. Rupert agrees.
So there is a question here to Vicky or John. What are the pluses of filming in New York? Is it if it is a non-union independent film? So what are the pluses of filming in New York if it is a non-union film?
I don't know. I'd say right off the bat, there's so many actors here. Right? There are people who are really good, who are not union. And so you have good actors, good acting communities to choose from. And, you know, if you take classes or you belong to an acting group or a writing group or a filmmaking group, then you have, you know, a lot of talent to pull from. I would also say, for me personally, I've been here for so long that when it comes to what helped me with this last project is because I know so many people and I worked in so many groups and so many buildings, it was finding deals for locations really easy. Nice. I guess that's one is like the networking is really, really easy. It's accessible here. You can literally pound the pavement. You come into contact with people all the time because of the nature of the city. Yeah, we're all like crammed in here together, so things can get done because it's like it's within your reach because of the networking.
So, John, before you jump in,
sure.
It's the same question, but it was more about what are the rules of filming in New York if you're not in the union.
Well, you know, since this was my first film, I haven't shot really a union shot before, so I can't say I know the difference. But I would just double down on what Vicky said, where there's too many actors here. I mean, especially there's so many theater actors who are well trained. Yeah. They're well trained, but they're not established in film, so they're hungry for work, and so there's a lot of people who are willing to collaborate. As well, actually, and so that's my answer for that. Let me go back now that I'm thinking of something about the rules filming in New York. There were a couple times I looked up information about shooting in the city, and the city does have a website dedicated to what it takes to film here, and it's all very clear directions, and they want to make it easy for people to film. And I think everything I read up on that was a possible conflict with our film, it all made sense. It's like, if you're going to shoot in Central Park, you can't like get in people's way, you know? Yeah. There was nothing that I read pertaining to our film that made me think like, well, that's a ridiculous rule. You know, everything was very common sense. So
I think that's a really good point. Like,
I would assume for anyone else, it wouldn't be too much of an issue to get it. You wouldn't be limited by the city, is what I'll say.
No.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback on what John's just said and say that New York City makes it very easy to get permits and shoot in public places because they want film shot here. So it's one of those places. This is one of these places where it's contrary to what people might think. It's really wonderful, almost joyous, if I could use that word, to shoot here because it's made easy for you. And I know it sounds contrary to what people think and feel, but that's the truth of it. That's my experience anyway.
Great. And then one final question that popped into my mind. You might know, you might not know, so it doesn't matter if you do not know. But what are the co-production rates at the moment with America? Do you know?
Co-production rates?
Yeah, so for example, if you're shooting in, let's say we're going to shoot in Spain, you can get a tax reduction. And it's, I'm not sure, do you know what? I'm not sure if America has this actually. They must do.
Yeah, I would have thought
But
so.
it's a scheme where you can get your tax rebate money back. So it's a percentage. So I know Malta a couple of years ago was one of the best places to go because you'd get 40% of your funds back. If you shot in their country.
Yeah.
And it's a similar thing to what you just said about New York makes it easy with the permits because they want people to shoot there. But if they really wanted foreigners or companies outside of the US to shoot there, then they would have this co-production scheme in place.
Yeah, they might. It's out of my purview because I haven't experienced it, but maybe Joan or John could speak to that.
Yeah, well, I can say it's true that these rates are present in every country, but I've never heard or seen rates in the US. It's like no existing. But I'm sure there are some, but it's not as clear as in the other countries. Probably because people come to shoot in the US no matter the rates or the profits, because it's like the perfect location.
Right,
Africa are desperate to get sort of the publicity and shooting, and they do really cool things. So it's not just the tax breaks, but it's also the deal is that you'll get like a percentage of that money back, assuming you use a certain amount of local talent or local resources. And I think that's really cool because that's then a win-win. So as well as the tax returns, I think there's also loads of benefits in terms of engaging local people into the industry and things like that. So I think it's a really cool thing to look into.
Yeah.
I think not that I have a ton of knowledge in this subject, but if someone's researching it, I believe you should look at shooting in the US on a state-by-state basis, because I know there is, in certain aspects of the film industry, I've read about competition between states and trying to entice people to come shoot there. So I think that's why, like, for example, we talked about New York wanted to build up the film industry. Then it was Atlanta. Now there's other parts of the country like New Mexico or wherever. Like, it's probably more of a state-by-state thing to look for than necessarily the whole country.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool. Great. Are there any final thoughts that you would like to share with our audience before we move on?
Final thought. Go ahead, Juan, please.
Just saying that I've seen on the comments that they were asking also the kind of the independent filming rules in Barcelona. And just a quick note about that. It's, well, the first rule here is like there are no rules in the independent industry, but the main difference between LA or New York in the States is that here there is no industry as clear as in the States. So it's much harder to find the clear information you need, the permits, or the people to work with. So here it's more the things you can find by your own, and the other side of the coin of these no rules industries that you can do things that are not legally prohibited. So it's not banned because there is no say about that. It's just kind of a legal gap here.
Right. Well,
so,
Claire, let's go to Barcelona and shoot a film. No, that's really good advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. I wasn't aware about that, so
And some people just kind of echoing what we've been saying in the chat room there with regarding a few different state tax credits and film commissions.
So Gus has said that New Mexico offers a 30% refundable tax credit on qualifying TV projects and a 25% refundable tax credit on film projects. So there are lots of different things going on. So New Mexico, let's go there as well.
I could see a trip to New Mexico.
That's probably my dad.
Hi, Dad. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to all three of you, and we look forward to following your journey. And yes, do stay in touch with us, even after New York has finished. Stay in touch with us. We'd like to see how we can help you and follow your journey, and maybe in a couple of months, in a year's time, we'll get you back on and see if you've met any of those targets that you spoke about.
That would be awesome, because one of the things I was going to say, and I'll make this really brief, was that one of the challenges since the pilot is finished is meeting people. So, just getting into rooms to pitch it, there's nothing I'd love more than like a speed dating kind of situation where you talk to 100 producers. So, it would be great to keep in touch with you guys in a couple of months down the line to see what's going on. It would be wonderful. So thank you so much for that and this.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I have to say I love your dog.
Can you see him at all? He's been asleep the whole time.
Exactly. He's been sleeping all the time.
I can't see him. I can't believe you can see him.
He must be good for film.
He's listening intently, though. He's loving this conversation.
Yeah, he's had a few input moments of moaning.
He always says he couldn't possibly miss out on our streams, and that's why he comes to the office.
Yeah, that is why. Okay.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us.
You're so welcome. What a pleasure. Thank you for this opportunity.
Take care, everybody. Enjoy the final days of the festival as well.
We shall. We shall.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. Watch all the films.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Okay, so what's coming up next in the next couple of weeks, or in fact, what else is coming up this week?
So we've still got the first time filmmaker sessions running. Great to see so many people on all of those programs. Lots of votes coming in, lots of people watching from every pocket of the globe, it seems. So thank you so much to everyone participating in that.
Yes, and then on Friday we'll be doing our final roundup. So join us for that at 2 p.m. BST.
2 p.m. BST.
2 p.m. BST. The link is already on our YouTube channel, so you can just set a reminder there, and then you'll be getting a notification as soon as we go live on Friday.
Yeah, so the festival will close at 10 p.m. and then very early next week, you guys will be hearing who is through to the network round.
Ooh, so very exciting. I think it's really exciting, and I hope you do too.
Super exciting.
Okay, well, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we will see you on Friday. Goodbye.
See you then.